If you love what you're doing, you'll be good at it. If you don't love what you're doing, it'll be a job.
You lost your father when you were
Yes.
about 7. Who was your role model?
Even at the age of 7, I started delivering newspapers, I think, and every morning before going to school and every weekend had to collect the money for the week that I delivered the newspapers. So at the age of 9, I learned about business. Even though you're young, my other friends who had fathers and had good family life, they were getting $1 allowance from there. The world today, obviously, is in a very screwed up place. Been here 57 years, and when I first got here, the Vietnam War was on. And I still remember having so many American soldiers coming up from Vietnam for the weekend, and then going back not knowing if they were going to live or die when they went back again. They were no older than 16, 17 years old, drafted young men, giving them a rifle in Vietnam and go and kill the North Vietnamese, right?
Hello, I'm Aaron Pang, the host of Transformative Purpose podcast. About a few years ago, I started spreading inspirations and positive messages through my books, podcasts, and conversations with inspiring leaders. If you also feel like our world needs more positive energy and you've been inspired by our content, please consider subscribing and join the next conversation. I would like to thank today's sponsor for this episode, Max Luxury Tea. Over here, you can see 3 of their unique flavors. We have Earl Grey, Decaf Breakfast, and also cucumber and watermelon tea. What I love about this company is that 100% of their products are biodegradable, from their tea bags, strengths, all the way to their packaging. If you'd like to try their tea, I'll also stick a link in the description so you can order directly from their website. Welcome to Transformative Purpose, a podcast where people grow together at work and in life. 3 years ago, I have interviewed the same guest today. It was an audio interview. The interview was so great that I had to re-invite him back to the studio to do an in-person interview. Now, the gentleman sitting across me doesn't need much introduction. He's a successful business leader, very active in government services and community. He has lived in Hong Kong for over 50 years. People call him the grandfather of Lan Kwai Fong, and Forbes magazine in 2007 referred to him as the mouse killer.
Correct. I've actually lived there for more than 57 years now, so yeah, this is home.
Looks like they need to update the Wikipedia.
Yeah. Don't believe Wikipedia.
Yeah. Hey, Allan, it's an honor to have you back, and it is a purpose podcast. And I want to kick off our conversation by asking you, what is your purpose, Allan?
What is my purpose? My purpose in life, my purpose in business, my purpose, just my nature is I love life. I wake up every day very happy to face the day, not knowing what to expect. I've always led a very exciting life. I like to just do what I like to do, and I'm lucky in that way. Although I have many businesses, and I sit on many boards and government, many things that I do, but I actually enjoy every single one of them. And in that way, I'm happy. I never look at a job just as a job. If it is, I won't do it. I'll tell anybody I hate to work, but in essence, it's just enjoy whatever you do, because who knows how long your life is, and everybody has a different time span. And so as far as I'm concerned, just make the best of it and enjoy every day. Even if you have problems or whatever, smile and remember tomorrow's always a better day.
How do you enjoy, because you've done so many different things in the past. You became a millionaire at the age of 18 from a lingerie company, and then you went into exports, and then you went into entertainment and property development. Every single venture that I pick up from your history, from your achievements, you started them from scratch. How did you do it?
Well, basically, you start with an idea. First of all, you need to do things that you love. If you love what you're doing, you'll be good at it. If you don't love what you're doing, it'll be a job. And so you basically have to be kind of passionate about something, and you have to have an idea that you think really can work. I grew up in the fashion business from a very young age. I've always loved, so to me, the world is about fashion. Life is about fashion. A building is about fashion. I always want to do something very different, something very special, so that it's recognized by other people and by myself. And that's really what's always driven me, because, I really enjoy creativity. And being in business, if you're creative, you usually have a product that you want to sell. And if you're creative, it's like Lan Kwai Fong. You need people to enjoy it and think that it's good. and then they'll come and be there. Ocean Park, same thing. So you do things that really make other people happy and and that's really something that really has always driven me. I like to make myself happy, but also other people happy and make money while I'm doing it.
Did you have any? Because I remember from our last conversation, you lost your father when you were quite young, when you were about 7, and then I also picked up from another interview that you mentioned that I think your mom also navigated a very tough space as well. So, who was your role model at the age of 7, and how did you pick up these virtues?
It's funny. It's a good and bad thing. Obviously, you don't want to lose your father at a young age, but if it happens, you learn about life very, very early. And it actually makes you much stronger. Even at the age of 7, I started delivering newspapers, I think when I was 9 years old. And every morning before going to school, and, then collecting every weekend, had to collect the money for the week that I delivered the newspapers to apartment buildings, that were like many stories high. And they used to give me tips. And at the age of 9, I learned about business, and it kind of, even though you're young, my other friends who had fathers and had good family life, they were getting $1 allowance from their parents. But for myself, I was earning as much as their parents were, as much as my teachers. And so it kind of gave me the independence, and I learned about life, the real life, at a very early age, and it made me stronger. It toughened me up. And I think that really, I always say, take a negative, turn it into a positive. That's really something. If you can do that, you can do anything. And, we're living in a very crazy age today. Of course, social media has changed the world. The internet, so many things that we didn't have when I was small. And now talking futuristically, AI, we're taught robotics, so many things that are different today. And so you have to prepare. And if you're positive and open-minded, always be open-minded, be positive about everything. Because if you're negative, you'll never do anything. You'll always be down. If you're positive, you have that can-do spirit. And that's something that can really drive you to success, even if in a tough time. I always think there's a dark cloud, but there'll always be a setting cloud. Like, think that you're on an airplane with a lot of turbulence, and you think, oh my God, this is the end. But eventually they get out of the dark clouds and they land the airplane and everybody claps. And so that's basically, everybody hits turbulence every once in a while, but you can navigate it. And luckily, you don't crash.
What was the worst turbulence that you have hit in your life?
It's really hard to say, because even if I've hit turbulence, I've been able to fix it, to overcome it. You live with every day, especially now we're living in a really crazy world. And, but what you realize is, Hong Kong got hit this past year with crazy interest rates because the U.S., for whatever Joe Biden decided during COVID to print 10.5 trillion U.S. dollars and hand it out in handouts to everyone in the United States. But they started spending, and it caused a lot of inflation in the world. Hong Kong, unfortunately, we're pegged to the U.S. dollar. And so we had no inflation, but because we're pegged for 40-odd years now, we had to follow suit. So unfortunately, we got stuck and made, because for 20 years we had zero interest rates and everybody was geared for that. But suddenly you're not geared for that anymore. And so it caused a lot of problems, especially in Hong Kong, where people still have trouble paying a mortgage. Their property valuations went down. Luckily, banks have been cool about repossessing flats because the HKMA advised them not to do it, because it's be a chain effect if they really cause problems in the market. So, this was as difficult a year as ever, because we had zero inflation, but at very high prices. Consequently, it's caused a change in habits here, where every weekend 200,000 people leave Hong Kong. They go to Shenzhen because the difference in renminbi to Hong Kong dollar, it's 30-40% cheaper. Shenzhen today is great. I mean, great restaurants, great clubs, great shopping, everything, shopping centers. They really opened the eyes to Hong Kong people who before thought they're better than the mainland Chinese. Not so today. I can tell you, I'm in mainland all the time. So, these are things that you go through, and that's current problems. But there's always going to be problems. If there wasn't, life would be very easy.
Can I ask a follow-up question? You mentioned about pegging to the US dollar, and there are rumors that we might get depegged soon. Maybe it's a matter of time. What's your point of view? What's your prediction?
You don't have to worry. The only worry you can have is we won't depeg. I can tell you, if there's a depegging, it'll be the U.S. depegging Hong Kong, because of the geopolitical situation, which I doubt will happen also. But, financial services, even with this difficult environment in Hong Kong, financial services have been very, very strong in Hong Kong. We have 2,700 family offices today, and hopefully we'll have 3,300 in the not-too-distant future. We're now attracting family offices from all over the world, people everywhere. Again, it's because of the stability of the U.S. dollar, of the peg, because that's still the most recognized currency in the world. Although I hate saying it, but it is, because honestly, the U.S. dollar to me is worthless today, but there's a monetary value for it, so I guess it's not worthless. But they printed their debt they could never repay. There's no backing for it, but it's the only game in town at the moment. And so it's something that, but we've got to watch out, because to me, I think eventually it'll be on the decline. I think that it can't keep printing money with no backup for it. And so, but because there is, at the moment, there is no, nobody that can replace it. It's become the go-to currency. But many countries now are very concerned because Russia had 4.6 billion in U.S. unfunded reserves that were tied up in the SWIFT code, and something that U.S. was not supposed to touch from any country. But what's happened is they seized the money, and because of the war in Ukraine, and they want to use part of the money to buy weapons and give it to Ukraine, And so, of course, every other country in the world at the moment sent a signal around. I thought it was a pretty stupid thing for them to do, but it's life right now,
So you mentioned that the world that we're living in, and you used the word crazy too, and there are multiple conflicts that are unfolding in different continents.
Yes.
We have US, China, we have NATO and Russia and Ukraine, and now Middle East. As a businessman, and I know that you fly a lot to Thailand and to China, how do you see the world today? We haven't even touched on AI and social media yet.
The world today, obviously, is in a very screwed up place. I blame the U.S., basically, because I've been here 57 years, and when I first got here, the Vietnam War was on.
Yep.
And I still remember hanging out as a young man, hanging out in Lan Kwai, and having so many American soldiers coming up from Vietnam for the weekend in order to take a break, and then going back not knowing if they were going to live or die when they went back again. They were no older than 16, 17 years old, drafted young men, giving them a rifle in Vietnam and go and kill the North Vietnamese, right? Except many of the young American soldiers were complaining to me, South Vietnam and North Vietnam all looked the same. They had the same facial features, so they had no idea sometimes who they were fighting. And then after Vietnam, there was Iraq, Iran, Libya, Afghanistan for 20 years. Now you have Ukraine and Russia, Hamas and Israel. And so it's really, really caused huge tensions in the world today, great instability. China, on the other hand, we are so lucky we're living here. China is a very stable country. War is not really in their playbook at the moment. And so what they do is basically busy trying to be a peacemaker in the world between countries. And of course, the problem that we face is that because of actually Donald Trump, going back to the days that he was a president, he came up with this America First. So all the friends who were friends with the United States, they all wound up having problems because America just cared about America. Before Trump, there was globalization. Every country used to work together. China, chips, semiconductors, they were all would be trading. It's never a problem. Suddenly, we have this huge problem with the sanctions that Biden put on China. And in effect, all they've done is made China much stronger because China itself now, they can't get chips or semiconductors from U.S. So now they're doing their own. They're spending fortunes on chip factories, semiconductors. And so many companies now are coming up with new technology that some of them the U.S. doesn't have. Companies like NVIDIA that came up with the AI chips and has become the darling of the investment world. Doesn't matter now. China is really catching up with their own chips from Huawei and other companies, branded companies that are very, very good. So, it's very interesting what is happening in the world because, of course, the U.S. fears China. Hong Kong is collateral damage. We've got lumped in with China, and now they say that Hong Kong, they want to cut you out. They want to sanction everything. They sanction John Lee, other people in Hong Kong. And it's been a real problem because we have, I sit on the board of Sanatorium Hospital in Hong Kong for 16 years. We had a board meeting last Monday, and we were told that, we used to buy a lot of medical equipment, MRI machines, X-ray, proton from the U.S. They were told, companies such as GE and other companies, we were told that, sorry, as of last month, we can't ship to Hong Kong anymore because China. So these things are like a mess, but all they've done is make China and Hong Kong much stronger. Now, what are we doing? We're going to China, to Shanghai, this company called United Imaging. That's really, really great equipment, better than North America, believe it or not. 30-40% cheaper. And, and I believe that the world, everybody will be doing exactly the same. So I think that that's the strength that we have right now with China. China will, I believe in the next 5 years, China will be number one, not number two. At the moment, they're number two. But, some of the analysts are predicting 10 years. I think they're moving pretty quickly.
So this shift from globalization to individualism, it has brought a lot of damages to countries.
Yeah.
Can it be reversed?
What's happening is China itself, who is the second largest economy in the world, I believe my prediction is within 5 years, many analysts, experts are saying 10 years, China will be number one in the world. I think their economy will be the biggest. People don't understand, U.S. has 335 billion people. China's 1.4 billion. China's 5 U.S.'s basically. And a country like China with people that are industrious, and it's the only country in the world that took 600 million people out of poverty and brought them into a middle class. And so they are a real superpower now in the world. And they're not a country that really cares about fighting or, military or that kind of thing. They're an economic powerhouse. For a country that people call communist, they're more capitalist today than so-called Western countries. And so, of course, China's gone through a little harder time after COVID. Obviously, U.S., because they just kept printing money, it's like a printing press. They're able to give their people a lot of money and then cause problems for the world. But China, of course, took a very prudent approach. But we can see the strength of China just a couple of days ago. Government decided finally, because there was property used to be 25% of China's GDP. And, property is a wealth creator for the world, for anywhere in the world. People buy a property, goes up 10%. We're rich, honey, let's go on a holiday, let's get a new car. It increases spending. Chinese traditionally are savers. The one thing they do is they put money in the bank, except when they have confidence. And after COVID, because it was handled, they've kind of mishandled it, and including so did Hong Kong, and that caused a real problem. in the community. So people didn't want to spend money. They just put money in the banks. The banks are flush with cash. But then they got hit with the property crisis where, unfortunately, countries like Evergrande and Country Gardens and, just kept building and building, a lot of it through corruption, a lot of different modes that really spurred the market. And really people stopped buying, and that caused a huge problem. So the banks are flush with cash, but the GDP really went down. And China originally had said that it'll be 5% GDP growth, which is their aim, to have a good China. And basically, because of the slowdown, they're about at 4.2% today. They only have 1 quarter left to go. But the good news is that they have a financial leader called Pan Gongsheng, who is very bright, very good. And so I think finally, before they didn't want to do quantitative easing, putting money into the economy like the U.S. did because it caused inflation. But I think because they have 1 quarter left to get to that 5%, I think that they decided it's time to really loosen up, get the property market back on stride. Because, as I say, so many unfinished buildings were done, so many companies went bankrupt, many property companies borrowed a lot of money and can't return it because the sales are not good. And there was a lot of restrictions on as well, how many flats you can buy, how many houses you can buy. You can only buy one, or two, certain countries. So now they've taken all that off. They put quantitative easing. They put more money into the economy, lowered the mortgage rate. It's basically almost a steal. And so slowly they'll start to get the property market ignited again. And with being so important to the country, as I said, 25% of the GDP, it's a real game changer. As we can see, a few days ago, the stock market went crazy. And it's funny because everyone was saying, all the overseas Western buyers, China's uninvestable. We're never touching China again. It's not for us, right? One thing I learned a long time ago, business people love business. They follow business. They follow the money. Politicians love politics. They know nothing about business, and they only know how to screw up business. And so in essence, politicians love politicians. They love politics, and that's where they should stay, basically. But so now the stock market went crazy. It became from a dead stock market, and so many Western country hedge funds were saying it's uninvestable. We'll never touch China. Or not here, and we want to be in the U.S. or even India or other, markets that are good. Suddenly, they're all clamoring. My son-in-law is a stockbroker, and he was inundated with he works for an American company, and it was inundated with orders for all those people who said it's uninvestable. It's very investable today. Well, because they can't be seen to be, by their investors, to be missing out on the market. And obviously Hong Kong as well for 3 years was like in the doldrums, not doing well. And of course, so much money flowed apart across the border to Hong Kong. So the stock market here really, really took off after 3 long years of inactivity. So I think things now are changing. And, I think going forward, hopefully China will be able to attain 5% GDP. If not getting that, it'll be close to that. Because the world, that's what expectation is. And so I think that in general, once the stock market starts going, the property market starts going, retail then will shift, will change. Hong Kong, on the other hand, is going through a dramatic change, along with the world. As I was saying, at the moment, our biggest customer used to be the U.S., still is, but because of all these ridiculous sanctions by people who had never been to Hong Kong, politicians who've never been to Hong Kong, they just think in their mind that Hong Kong, now that security law came in and Article 23 came in, that Hong Kong is part of China now, it's unsafe, it's many, many stories that are concocted by the government there for their people. And it really kind of drives me crazy because now our convention center here is so busy all year round. I think this year we'll do 150 conventions, 165 exhibitions. And it's so busy with people coming from overseas. And they say, wow, this is not Hong Kong that I was led to believe. So much activity, so many people in the streets, so much hustle and bustle. That's Hong Kong. So it's a totally different environment now.
We're talking about conflicts in the continent, and I kind of want to probe a bit further about this question. So you said that war is probably not an option in China's playbook at the moment, but I wanted to ask, what would cross China's red line?
The only thing that would cross China's red line, is Taiwan. Because Taiwan obviously is part of China. In my younger years, when I was in the fashion business, my biggest office was in Taipei, and I used to spend a lot of time because I had so many staff there, and we used to do a lot of work there. And so I knew Taiwan very well at the time. But if the DPP in Taiwan decides to be independent, that's the end. I mean, then China will never allow that because no leader wants to go down in history in China as having lost Taiwan. In the Chinese philosophy, Taiwan belongs to us. We're brothers, and rightly so. I mean, unfortunately, but the DPP has really caused problems in the environment, and has really tried to join up with the U.S. and of course, U.S. all they're doing is arming Taiwan. They love conflict, and they love it's just their way. Same with Ukraine. I feel bad for the people dying, and even Hamas. So many people have died. Not that the Hamas or the Palestinian people are pretty innocent, but it's just, I just have no love for war. Killing people solves nothing.
Yeah.
It just creates hate. And it's a shame that in today's world that this still goes on. The good thing about Hong Kong, Asia, we make love, we don't make war.
Yeah.
We don't make war, except in Hong Kong. Not enough babies are being born. Same in China, so we have to teach them more how to make love. But joking. But at the end of the day, it's really important to the aging population that we have here and in China, and that we do something about it. The good thing is Xi Jinping is doing something about. In the third plenum, he realizes they have an aging population. The first thing they did now is increase the retirement age by 3 to 5 years by certain categories. And the second thing that's very important is they still have a lot of SOE, state-owned enterprises, that are still working by making products by hand and the old-fashioned way, working on a sewing machine and all that. He wants to make sure everything becomes IT-centric. That everybody works with technology. Robotics has become a very, very big thing, especially in China, especially in the factories. So that will continue to literally drive China into the next atmosphere. And I think that for Hong Kong, it'll only make Hong Kong stronger and stronger now because, we're talking about the future for Hong Kong is the Greater Bay Area, GBA. And what that is Hong Kong has 7.5 million people. In the GBA, you're talking about 86 million people, all within 1.5 hour radius of Hong Kong by high-speed rail. And so that's just 11 cities. Really is a game changer for Hong Kong. Because now you can just get on the train and in 45 minutes, you're in Shenzhen. So it's a real game changer.
What is the future of Hong Kong if you were a business owner?
Well, the future of Hong Kong is very bright because we have the one country, two systems. As China grows, Hong Kong grows. And I think China will be very, very strong as far as I'm concerned. I think it'll continue to get stronger and stronger. And I think that the Greater Bay Area, 86 million people versus Shenzhen. I mean, was much smaller, before. And so now, all within 1.5 hour radius of each other with the high-speed rail, it's a game changer. And today, more and more countries, more and more provinces, everybody wants to join the Greater Bay Area. And then China has something else called the Belt and Road, which is, again, 150 countries in the world that are tied up by connection, by it's the old Silk Road, basically.
I recently looked at the vacancy rate in prime areas, prime real estate areas in Hong Kong. I think it's about 85, about 15% vacant in prime area, be much higher in non-prime areas for brick and mortar businesses. And you touch on so many challenges, and I see so many vacant shops in Hong Kong these days. How should businesses, retail businesses, reposition themselves in the coming years?
I think there's definitely a change in Hong Kong, and what's happened is that because during COVID, Carrie Lam was the chief executive, and I'm not criticizing her, but I am.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we had 21-day quarantine, Penny's Bay, in case you were caught coming in with COVID. And so that caused a real problem.
Did you ever say that?
Did I say that?
Did you ever have to stay there?
I did. Yeah. I tell it like it is,
Wow.
It caused a huge problem, and consequently, because schools were closed, and we had 200,000 expats living here at the time with their kids, and they got really nervous because they could not see an opening, an end date, and so they left, they said goodbye. That we've had enough. And going forward, it's after people left, Hong Kong, China wanted to really come back very quickly. And so that's basically they hit, but they hit a roadblock until just recently. And so Hong Kong itself, when China's slow, Hong Kong is slow. And so 200,000 people wound up leaving Hong Kong. They were expats because they're children. They want to put them in school and whatever. And then 100,000 locals, the UK, luckily offered the B&O passport to locals. Where were they in 1997? But anyways, again, it was all because of geopolitical problems. They decided that Hong Kong was not free anymore, didn't have democracy, and so we'll offer B&O passports. So about 100,000 took it up. So you have about 300,000 people that left. And I sat on the government's Human Resources Committee, and one of the problems we had was that many industries lacked talent as people left. And so we decided to start a few talent schemes. And the first one we wanted 35,000 professionals with these criteria, each one earning $2.5 million a year, and or coming from 100 different universities, top universities in the world, which we named in the end. And plus, then there was a lot of different talent schemes came up because there was such a shortage in Hong Kong. As of about last week, we had 360,000 that were applied, and out of that, 240,000 were approved, ticked all the boxes. And so once that happened, we decided that we're going to now look at ways that these people could move to Hong Kong. And with that, 143,000 recently moved to Hong Kong with their children, put their children in school because they met all the criteria. The biggest problem we have with them is that they're not buying property. They're renting property. That's why the rental market is so high, sky high right now. But we're trying to find ways to now give them a chance, just walk on the street today. All you hear is, we're in a lift, all you hear is Putonghua being spoken. And so, we've had to, for business, we had to change our strategy. Lan Kwai Fong used to be Guilo, a Western district. It's not anymore. Now it's a lot of locals and mainlanders, and we've attracted a few different, because I had a few empty office spaces. So we've attracted May KTV from Beijing. They have 500 KTVs in Beijing. Really, really very good. And so they are coming. They signed a lease. And they're a public company in China. Everybody knows them. And everybody asks me, when's May KTV opening up? We just signed a lease for something called Chengdu Sichuan restaurant. One Michelin star also, and they can use, the government's letting them use the Chengdu name because it's so good. I think they've won in Las Vegas, they've won in Macau, they've got 150 everywhere. So you got a lot of mainland companies now coming to Hong Kong. I have Chow Tien Min Hot Pot on the ground floor, which I love. I'm there all the time. So the demographics is really changing because you have 142,000 people with their children that have moved here. And the other problem is that they're not spending the money to buy a house, but they're renting. That's why the rental market is so high. And but I think going forward, Hong Kong will change.
I'm going to ask a question on behalf of corporate professionals.
Yeah.
You have so many diversified skill sets, business acumen, strategic thinking, forward thinking, being a salesman yourself. What's the one skill that people should invest in?
Well, I mean, going forward, I would say AI happens to be the big money grabber at the moment. Obviously, because, if it works, it's very, very good because you're basically amalgamating all the knowledge of the world and then passing it on through a conduit, and the thing is, if it's quick, that's the most important thing. The quicker we can get it to operate, then it becomes the norm.
And you never finish school. You may frame it this way: you're a college dropped out, started working from the age of 10, and now we're also seeing a lot of disruption with the AI. Just a week ago, I was speaking to a scientist, and this gentleman was trying to push me into homeschooling. How do you feel about the future of education for the younger generation?
I think that what's happened is that the education going forward is rapidly changing. I mean, students today unfortunately know more than many of the teachers because of the AI, the revolution in learning, global, all the global social media contact, everybody all day is on, whether it's Instagram, Google, even for China, Xiaohongshu is the Bible. I mean, if it's on Xiaohongshu, we go. If not, forget it, and so, and Weibo, of course. So all these things, Hong Kong definitely is changing, and we have to change because we're behind China. And that's something that, China only uses Alipay and WeChat Pay for product. They don't use cash, they own credit cards, basically. So it's important that we continue to do whatever we're doing to modernize, to really, I know we use the octopus card and that's okay, but really, we should really become tech savvy. I mean, that's the moment we have we have 5 of the top universities in the world, actually. Every year they come amongst the top 100 in the world. We do a lot of R&D, and so I think the Northern Metropolis is the future where, there'll be a lot more universities, there'll be a lot more, learning institutions, from all different things. So, I think the joining up in, with Shenzhen in the new territory areas, I think that place will really be very, very important and be a game changer. And because of the universities that we have.
If a 10-year-old kid walk up to you today and ask you, Allan, should I drop school and just start working like you did? What would you say?
I'd say your mother and father will tell you not to do it, so you probably won't. But it depends on different individuals. I was a driven kid, and it was probably my mother was always busy working, so that was kind of a good thing because I was kind of left to bring myself up. And it made me independent, but not everybody. As I said earlier, I never went to university because I felt, for me anyways, it wasn't the right thing to do. But because I love business. And so, I mean, today I have 6 honorary doctorate degrees from almost every university, actually. And, but I understand to give a lot of speeches at universities, and I urge young people to really be positive, think futuristically, and, don't be negative. Negative, you'll never get anywhere. Yeah, it's difficult for some, but problems are made to be solved. And so if you do that, you have confidence. And the most important thing is be positive, have confidence in yourself. That's something that's really, really important.
I ask all my guests to ask the audience a question that they can reflect on. So for the listeners that are watching this episode right now, what's the one question, Allan, you want to ask them to reflect?
The one question I want to ask them is, why are you watching this podcast? No, I'm joking. No, I mean, basically, I think it's a question of we're living in a really changing world. Everybody's worried about the future of Hong Kong, and where are we going, where are we headed. Hong Kong has a very bright future, I can tell everybody, because of the mainland. We're the one country, 2 systems will never leave Hong Kong, even past 2047. And I've been told by the mainland government,
would they extend it?
Xi Jinping.
Would they extend it?
Yeah, he actually came here the last time we were in Hong Kong, and I was at the speech, and he actually was telling the world that one country, 2 systems, been tried and tested. It's got its pluses and minuses, but more pluses and minuses. It's a good system, and it'll continue past 2047, Hong Kong, because China needs Hong Kong as the super connector between the East and the West and the East. And so that will always remain. If they just take back Hong Kong and become another Chinese city, they have 1.4 billion people. They derive more money from Hong Kong. Hong Kong will eventually be the place that the renminbi will become. Well, today it's the biggest holder of renminbi in Hong Kong, but the international renminbi will probably be launched from here, to when they really want to challenge the currencies in the world. And, and I've said, because if the U.S. continues to be, you have election coming now, who knows, whoever is the president in the United States, Hong Kong will always be kind of a thorn in their side because of China. And so, that's something we have to live with, overcome with. But what I'm saying is now we can start looking at other markets. I'm urging the government, and I know they're doing it. Actually, the ASEAN market is very strong. The ASEAN market being Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. And so, so those countries have 600 million people, all average age about 28 years old. And they're close to Hong Kong and close to China, and they all want to do business in China, using Hong Kong as a springboard. China, of course, the Hong Kong government is also pushing the Middle East. It's okay, of course, it's a very important market, it's a big market, but it's a totally different culture. And so it'll take a long time. And really, as far as I'm concerned, the Middle Easterners really want to get into China. Yeah. Hong Kong is just, if they come here, it's a stepping stone to get into China. We don't have halal restaurants of what they eat. So it's a different culture. So I think that's important that if you ask yourself a question, the biggest question I get asked, should I stay in Hong Kong? And I will answer that for you. Please stay in Hong Kong. We need young people. We need old people. We need people that are creative and many startups and have confidence in yourself, because Hong Kong will continue to be strong with the strong universities we have are strong, all strong in R&D and medical and, and financial services will continue to be the number one industries in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. Yes, but we'll go through changes. They'll only be stronger and stronger. China will never let Hong Kong fail. They can't. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I say to you. For all those people asking questions, because I get that all the time, should I stay or is there a better place to stay? The other thing, the most important thing is it's safe, S-A-F-E. Yep. Anywhere else in the world, I can tell you, is unsafe. Mm-hmm. And it's a crazy world because I was just like short story. I was having dinner last month with Chopard, the brand, the big jewelry brand, and her boyfriend. She was here. The owners is female, and and her boyfriend, younger guy from I think it was Italian. And as we're sitting at the table, they live in London, and he saw I have a Panerai watch on, so you could never wear that in London. It'll be taken off your hand and ripped off. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody says that. And then in the U.S., another crazy thing, 335 million people, 465 million registered guns. That's why every day you see people with, getting shot, and it's just become really unsafe.
Yeah. I think I alluded to you last time. I passed out in Lan Kwai Fong many times, and next morning I woke up, I was still in one piece. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. Hong Kong, you can leave your car unlocked. You can go out at any time in the evening. You don't have to worry about your children coming home late or that kind of thing. It's just knock wood. It's one of those great places. And that's why a question that I know that I get asked all the time is, should I leave, or is there a better place than Hong Kong? No better place to bring up children, to bring up a family, and really to be part of the growth of the future generation, Hong Kong and China, which will be the number one economy in the world and number one country in the world. So be part of it and be proud.
Thank you, Allan. And I know you're a very positive guy, and on social media, you're always spreading positivity all these years. So I always look up to you for motivation. Just want to recall, do you still remember the question you want to ask the audience?
Yeah, why do you want to leave Hong Kong?
Why do you want to leave Hong Kong? Thank you so much, Allan, for coming on the podcast to share your knowledge, inspiration, and why people should come and check out Hong Kong, stay in Hong Kong, and be part of Hong Kong. And Hong Kong's got a bright future to come.
Exactly. And I say, anybody that comes, I guarantee you will make money, have a good life, have a great life.
And you know where to find Allan. Lan Kwai Fong is where you got to bump into.
That's me. Yeah.
Good
to see you.
So much.
Okay, good to see you.